The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. People continue to log in at a furious pace. We'll begin in 1 minute. Greetings, everyone. My name is Shepard Smith, Head of Marketing here at Gravitate Solutions, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. The topic of today's conversation is 3 digital trends associations should start, stop, and continue. And while we'll move quickly through the next 30 minutes, we welcome questions and we'd like you to submit them at any time using the written chat function you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen. Everyone in the audience is muted, and we'll be sending all of you a link to a recording of this webinar afterwards. We have 2 presenters today. The primary is Sandy Marisco, founder and CEO of Sandstorm Design. When Sandy was 24, she founded the kind of company she always wanted to work for, a digital agency that thrived on exceptional and strategic work. Since then, she's grown Sandstorm into Chicago's leading digital marketing and user experience agency for organizations including American Medical Association, Blue Cross Blue Shield, National Association of Realtors, and Rotary. With more than 3,400 in-depth interviews and usability studies conducted, Sandy leads a company that has mastered the art of uncovering insights to elevate brand experiences. Sandstorm has been named to Chicago's 101 best and brightest companies to work for, and her specialties include brand strategy, UX design, web development, and data analytics. Sandy's joined by Rob Miller, CAE, who many of you know both as a senior association executive until just recently at 340B Health, which is a trade association comprised of more than 1,400 hospitals, and as president and co-founder of Avectra, the company that invented the modern web-based AMS with the launch of NetForum. Rob, I'll now turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Shepard. At Gravitate, we have over 200 clients and 50 staff, and we have been in business for 12 years. We implement and support several leading AMS solutions, and we become experts with Salesforce. We provide technology consulting and development services, and the most exciting thing is we are developing compelling software solutions, including Nucleus, our state-of-the-art data analytics platform. And speaking of Nucleus, since it's such a major component to our relationship between us and Sandstorm, I'd like to tell you a little bit about that solution. The first component of that solution is the data lake. It is built on big data technology and is where we store all the data from all the applications that you have in your environment. So we pull all those together and we blend it together, and that data lake is very, very fast, which is important because as associations you have a lot of data. The second component is the processing pipeline, and that's the real secret sauce to Nucleus. It takes the data and merges it all together, and it also transposes it into very usable information. So it takes all of the data from all those systems and in a sense creates one long transaction per row so that you can access all the elements when you're filtering the data. The third component is the intuitive interface. You'll see some screenshots of that I think you'll find make it look like it's very easy to use. And then finally, the actionable output. While the processing pipeline is the secret sauce, the actionable output is what I would describe as the ROI of the system. After you've done the analysis and find insights in the data, the product helps you then take the next step, which is go back to those people and market to them on a one-on-one basis to the types of things you find that they're really interested in.
Thanks, Rob. And this is Sandy with Sandstorm. I wanted to take just a brief moment to introduce us. We are a digital agency, and we've gotten the opportunity to work with over 40 amazing associations. We have 4 practice areas. We work in brand strategy, UX and creative, web development, and data science. As Shepard had said, we've gotten the opportunity to do over 3,400 hours of in-depth interviews and usability studies with members. So it's a lot of insights that we can leverage. We're both Drupal, Acquia, and Kentco certified. We do a lot of AMS and LMS integrations, and we're a really proud Nucleus partner. Part of our partnership and why it works is that we're always looking to uncover better insights from data. And Nucleus gives us that opportunity to aggregate existing data sources to find new insights that help drive better business decisions, help drive better outcomes, better websites, and more of the marketing that we work on.
And of course, Sandy just described why they are an ideal partner for Gravitate. We are attracted to companies that focus on research, on data, on usabilities, companies that really truly could take advantage of Nucleus to provide even more value to their clients, and having a tool for them that they can then use to analyze all their data. Sandstorm is truly a natural fit and a wonderful partner for us.
Thank you, Rob. I want to jump right in now to 3 digital trends that all associations should start, stop, and continue doing, with the first digital trend being, let's start creating a culture of data. So what do I mean by that? Back in 2006, I was just really tired of there being all these subjective decisions being made when we're building out a website. Like, the logo should be here, this content should be on the home page, here's what we should put in the navigation. Well, with data and research, you no longer have to make subjective decisions. It no longer has to be the loudest person in the room dictating what should happen, right? We built an entire way of working with associations so we can reduce that subjectivity. One way that you could start doing that is you could start gathering your members' most needed content and functional requirements. And there's a lot of ways that you can gather that information. It could be through one-on-one in-depth interviews, it could be through a survey, and the kind of questions that we work with members on is, hey, if you're gonna log in and get a dashboard as a member, what's important to you? What's the type of content that you want? What's the type of functionality that you want? And what should we prioritize, right? So it's really looking at the association and looking at the web experience from the member's point of view, rather than how the association is built fundamentally. Another thing that this does is, I can imagine a lot of you have these large requirements where you've got a lot of functional requirements, a lot of content requirements, and you need help with prioritizing those. Working directly with your members will help you make better business decisions. So this is one example here. One of the members for a client of ours, they wanted to be able to download some data that the association had in Excel so that they could work with it directly, right? So we would then know, hey, we've heard this from a lot of members, they're actually using your data, here's how they want to work with it, we should make it downloadable, let's prioritize that in a phase 1. Other times we hear some of those white space opportunities. Why are they a subscriber? Why are they a member? What's important to them, so that we know what to feature in marketing content. Another start is to start conducting usability studies with your members. I don't know if many realize this, but we only need 5 to 6 users from a particular user group to uncover 80% of the usability problems. That's right, just 5 to 6 members. And we often can go to annual meeting and start grabbing members right then and there and test wireframes, test websites. And what I mean by a usability study is it's task-based. So you identify what are the most important things that your members want from your website, and then you see how they do finding it. So it could be, hey, renew membership online. And then we observe, where do they go? Where do they think they should go? Or maybe it is register for an event or register for a course. And we don't guide them, We just track where they're going. We track where their mouse is going. They talk aloud to us so we better understand their experience. So for example, for the Association for Corporate Growth, we actually had 2 different user groups. They had 60 chapters. So one of my user groups was actually their chapter chairs. What is it that their chapters need? In addition, my second user group were my members. So some of the key tasks that came up were the members cared a lot about events. It was all about the events. Where can I find an event? Or where can I find a member? Right? And it was also really important for them to be able to identify different chapters, as many of their members, Association for Corporate Growth members, middle market, M&A. So we're talking mergers and acquisitions, finance, deal people. And they're often traveling a lot, and they might be in a new city and want to see what's available. However, the chapters wanted their events featured first. So this is an example of featured events, particularly for Boston, all built on one system. So based on the usability studies that we did and the priorities of our members, we were able to highlight all the Boston ones first. Or here's an example in Chicago. Chicago shows up first, but you also could then search other cities to see what you want. All of these decisions were made because we were working directly with the members and directly with the chapters. Moving on to the next start, you have a ton of data already available to you. Please start blending those existing data sources. Maybe it's your membership CRM data or marketing activities, member surveys, product sales, event attendance. You have a ton. And what's so great about what Nucleus can do, this is one example of Nucleus blending 4 data sources into one. And not only do they aggregate those different data sources, but they allow you to make it more usable, which we at Sandstorm love. So for example, under the age category, normally what your data will show is their actual age. However, when we're doing different persona groups or we're looking at demographics, what Nucleus allows you to do is actually create a new column of like the generations. So you could convert that age automatically to millennials or Gen X. And this will increase the accuracy of the reporting you're doing. I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times I sat in a meeting and we're like, wait, who are the millennials? It's 1977, are you a millennial or not? So Nucleus helps mitigate some of that human error so that when we're pulling reports over and over again or identifying all these great insights, we're actually taking 4 data sources, putting them together, and then converting them into these stories that we need to tell, as well as a join date. This helps group, hey, they're a new member, and we're going to calculate a new member as 0 to 3 years, or 4 to 6, or 7 to 10. So it's taking actual raw native data and converting it into the stories that we'll need to drive marketing decisions, to drive web decisions, to drive those digital decisions.
Another great example of that is the member type. I'm sure for all of you in your AMS system, you have a variety of fields that identify or determine what makes someone a member. For example, in this case, it would be maybe they're of member type regular, they paid, or at least they are still within the grace period. They have a status of active, and maybe for a particular organization, you have to have a certain number of years of experience. That's very difficult for many members of your staff when they go to write a report. And as a result, I'm sure many of you have had someone come to your office and say, I'm getting the wrong membership numbers. And it's because they don't know that they have to pick all those different fields. So what we do is when we move the data into Nucleus, we will actually take those fields into account, and we will create one field called member type, and it's either M or N, and it takes into account all those values, so that even your most junior membership coordinator is not going to make a mistake figuring out who the member is. And so if you're going to continue on this track, what you have to continue is you have to have a culture data, and you have to talk about data. This means regularly talking about data and the insights of data with your executives, with your board, with everyone in the organization. And it may even be information that they don't want to hear. We have one client in Illinois that now has a carousel of visualizations created specifically for their board members to see. Now, of course, when I was at my association, I'm not sure if I would want to have it quite that live for my board members, but you get the point, is that that organization is having real discussions about data with their board, and it's creating that culture of data. But everyone in the organization has to adopt that mindset. And in fact, at Gravitate, we like to say that really moving into the next decade, information about a transaction will become more important than the actual transaction itself. And when you start to understand that, you really will be starting to make data-driven decisions. So let's turn our table now to things that we want to stop, things that are outdated, unprofitable programs. Those age-old business processes that either are creating inefficiencies with your organization or staff, or have your members wondering, do they really know me? The first one is to stop offering education that people don't want. Too many associations develop webinars and session content at their conferences based on what they think or believe that their members and stakeholders want. You know, in addition to surveys and submissions, there's now another way to identify their interests and preferences. I'm showing you an example here with a tool like Nucleus, and employing a technology called semantic analysis. You can uncover what your members are interested in by analyzing what they are saying. In this example, a word map was used to measure what millennials were talking about most in the association's social community. Then those interests were turned into webinars and conference sessions. The millennials were targeted to attend through an e-marketing campaign, which ultimately drove up registration and revenue. This is a perfect example of actually not guessing what your members want, but actually knowing what it is. And really what makes this possible is the blended data, being able to filter on data that was in your AMS, such as the fact that they are a millennial, against data that's in your social community. And without the data being blended, you couldn't bring those two types of information together. So part of my job at 340B Health was business development, which includes attaining high membership retention and new membership acquisition. And I really disliked guessing who my prospects were. With Nucleus and employing a concept of scoring, we were able to pinpoint our most engaged non-members or our obvious acquisition targets. You can see in this chart, Massachusetts General Hospital has the most engagement points. And the way the scoring works is as follows. We would provide 1 to 2 points for someone reading an email or clicking on it. We'd provide maybe 5 to 6 points for somebody posting a note in your community or responding to another. And we'd provide even more points for activities that were taking place in the AMS, such as maybe 50 points for attending a webinar, 100 for something that was paid, 150 for committee participation. And because my organization cared deeply about what was going on in Capitol Hill, we would give 200 points for contacting a member of Congress, or 250 points for writing a letter to an editor. But as you can see, by doing all that type of thing and then pulling it all together, I would be able to figure out who my most engaged individuals were, and then rolling that up to who are my most engaged hospitals. So with that scoring algorithm, it was very easy for us to determine who our most engaged non-members were, and they became our obvious target for our acquisitions. And then the reverse is obviously true. You can figure out who are your least engaged members, and certainly around that September, October time when you're thinking about renewal time, that would be a very good time to reach out to those people. Now, a surprise benefit of the scoring came about when we were ready to add a new member to our board. We generally receive about 75 nominations for our board, which created weeks and weeks of research for us at my old organization, which was very challenging. But with the Nucleus scoring, we were able to just say, listen, let's just look at the top 10 most engaged members, and then evaluate those ones on all their other criteria. Do the research on, you know, what school they went to, where did they do their residency, all those types of things. But we took a process that took weeks of time to conduct and took it down to about 3 days, which was extremely valuable to us. Now, the last one I want to point out is that stop overwhelming your members with so much email. I'm sure you've heard this, several times before, and you probably can get some of this information from your email marketing tool. In this particular example, you can see this organization actually sent 25 messages in a month to almost 5,000 people. That's a lot of mail, and my suspicion is that will generate a lot of opt-outs. But what you can't do from just an email marketing tool, what you can do if you're working with a tool like Nucleus, is that you can take that group and take it down a level. You could say, well, what about the members? How many times am I sending it to them? What about the millennials? What about someone who's only been a member for 0 to 3 years? Because you're blending the data between your e-marketing system and your AMS, you get all that additional information. So I encourage you to use tools like this and stop overwhelming your members with so much email.
Moving forward, we love email, right, as a digital marketing agency, but we really keep an eye on that member experience. So what we want associations to do is to continue focusing on the member experience. You guys do a really nice job really knowing your members, knowing their needs, really knowing who they are, and we want you to continue on that same path. The first one being continue providing continuing education online. This digital trend is only continuing to grow. Your members want education. They want, just as Robin mentioned earlier, they want the content when they want it, where they want it. We want to continue doing this. We want really looking at the events that you've got, the webinars, and for this particular example with NBI, what was really important to their members, so we had done the one-on-one interviews, we had really gotten an understanding of their subscribers, and live events were really important to them, the location, the dates, and they wanted that separated from the on-demand where they could watch or view and learn on their own time outside of office hours on the evenings, weekends. So we see a big growing trend on this continuing education online. We want to make it really easy, right, when we're thinking about the member experience, really easy for your members to find that online content, find those webinars, find those courses, right? So when you look at the second screen, we're helping our subscribers look at what state, right, because location matters to them for a live event. We also help them look at by topic and by format. And the reason we chose to explore those 3 courses by those filters is because this is what their members told us. This is actually what they were looking for. So we could stop the guessing. We don't need that. We could just simply ask and not do every filter possible, but do the key filters that actually matter. In addition to continuing education online, we also want you to continue embracing mobile and social. We want you to meet your members where they're at. This is a really great example from the Toy Association in New York. They have almost 120,000 likes for this campaign, and this is the Genius of Play campaign. So what they're really working on is engagement and brand awareness and education, and they're leveraging social media and mobile use on this. They have a great video campaign around pediatricians now writing prescriptions for play. And what's really interesting about this is the Toy Association is not only going after additional members, but like many of your associations, sometimes it's the general public or your patients or your customers that you're also looking to continue to educate and inform, and mobile and social is a great way to do that. They've got these great graphics and creative campaigns all around play and the use of toys. But it's not just mobile and social. We definitely don't want you to forget about desktop, right? Because desktop still has a huge use. It's really just saying, look, there's a lot of creative ways that you can increase that member experience and continue to build that member experience through mobile, through social, and a lot of your up and coming members, these millennials, this is where they're at, but we don't want you to forget about desktop.
Yeah, in fact, you should be able to analyze what people are doing. And in fact, we really encourage you to continue to provide content to people the way they want it. So in this particular example, you know, it was interesting. At my old organization, 340B Health, we just assumed we had a large growing number of folks using mobile. But what we learned when we were evaluating the data, that it really wasn't true. And as we dug in deeper, we found that our members and our primary stakeholders, who were primarily pharmacists, you know, they would work all day long doing their job, and then they would go home at night, and then they would log onto their, what turned out to be a Windows computer primarily, and went to their desktops on a browser and would look at our content on our website. So that encouraged us to double down on good content on our web, and really push that, and even formulate the content and style of our emails that went out to push people back more to the web than maybe just have them read it on their phones. And so Sandstorm and Gravitate encourage you to, you know, really look to ways to understand what your members want and continue providing it in that way.
And something that we've seen is your members are unique to you. There aren't that many blanket statements. Even though a lot of humans are a lot alike, it's really determining and looking at your analytics and looking at your data to see how are your members accessing your content, where are we seeing trends when you're looking over time. So to really continue that member experience, look at your own member group and see where those trends are going. Now you may be thinking, I'm a little overwhelmed, there's a lot of data, and the answer is you're right, and you're not alone. In the past few years, almost 90% of the world's data was created. But just letting that sink in, that whole feeling of, I know I have all this data, now what do I do with it? It's adding every single day. It's just pounding and pounding and pounding more data. I think Google's doing 40,000 searches a minute, right? So I want you to know that you're not too far behind, right? There's a lot of associations that are saying, what am I going to do with this? How do I take this data and turn it into actionable insights? How do I use this data to help me drive better business decisions? And how do I take the subjectivity out of the work that I'm doing? So Nucleus and Sandstorm want to leave you with this question. Where should you begin? And what should your association start, stop, and continue doing? We're hoping today that maybe you got one little snippet, one little action item that you could bring back to your organization so that you could be building a culture of data, so that you could stop unprofitable programs, so that you could continue growing and building an engaging member experience. So with the few minutes that we have left, Shepard, I'd like to turn it to you to see if we've got any questions.
We do, Sandy, thank you. And this question is for you. It says, Sandy mentioned that a usability study can generate results with as few as 5 to 6 users from a given user group. The question is what you mean by user groups.
That's a great question. So when we're looking at a usability study and looking at a user group, it's not a typical market segmentation, or you're not looking at marketing demographics. So we're not looking to test millennials versus those that have been a member for 10 years. A user group is based on motivations and behaviors. So does this group of individuals, do they have the same key tasks? Are they looking to do the same thing? So for example, your membership, very well, you may only have 1 or 2 user groups because maybe they all need to renew, they all want to subscribe to your journal, maybe they want to, you know, enroll in a course. So when we're looking at developing user personas and looking at developing user groups to test, we say, what are their goals for the website or the web application? What is it that they're trying to do? So one user group could be the members that are looking to join, and then maybe it's existing members that are looking to renew. Another membership group could be volunteers. Maybe the volunteers have to go into a portal, or your board members to be able to access information. So when you're looking at user groups for a usability study, you kind of have to clear the mindset of marketing demographics. We use that when we're talking about messaging and go-to-market strategies. When we're talking about how humans use a device or use a website or use a web app, it's all around their motivations and their behaviors.
So with that, I think we're going to wrap up. We've hit the 30-minute mark. We want to thank everyone for attending today. I want to particularly thank my partner, Sandy, for joining us today. And Gravitate will continue to run these 30-minute webinars on various topics around data, big data, analytics, all those topics. And so we wish and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.